All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, we're tackling one of the absolute biggest, most looming fears of our modern era: the rise of unaccountable rogue AI. You know the drill. You can probably picture the nightmare scenarios right now. Autonomous power grids suddenly shutting down in the dead of winter, algorithmic trading bots just spiraling completely out of control and wiping out markets in a matter of seconds, or even worse, automated defense systems acting on their own flawed inferences. But what if the solution to preventing these mass disasters isn't about teaching AI to be good? What if we could prevent rogue systems entirely, not by begging them to follow some ethical guidelines, but by converting ethics into undeniable structural geometry? Today, we're breaking down Harshal's systems and the accountability gated systems framework. We're going to explore exactly how making rogue action a literal physical impossibility is the ultimate foolproof safeguard against the machines outsmarting us. So here's our blueprint for today. We're going to look at 1, the illusion of autonomy; 2, the single origin axiom; 3, the AI inner shell; 4, intelligence as cessation; and finally 5, the empire grid. Let's get into it. Starting off with section 1, the illusion of autonomy, and exactly why teaching AI to just be good is a fundamentally flawed idea. Okay, so let's dive into this. Right now, the industry standard for AI safety is this thing called behavioral alignment. Basically, it's the idea that we can just teach an AI ethics. We rely on inference, essentially crossing our fingers and hoping the machine makes the right choice when it hits a wildly complex, unforeseen scenario. But Harshul's framework introduces a totally radical shift. It's called structural containment. See, this framework argues that autonomy becomes incredibly dangerous when we let machines treat their own outputs as enough justification to act. Because when we do that, we're quietly transferring authority from accountable humans to totally unanswerable processes. Structural containment flips this whole thing on its head. It ensures that responsibility structurally precedes power. Instead of asking the AI to figure out what's right, it makes unapproved action geometrically impossible. Think about this with high-stakes infrastructure, like a city's automated defense systems or a massive power grid. Under this new framework, we use what are called AGS, agrospheres. These are strict geometric boundaries built right around a system's execution capabilities. So if an AI tries to initiate a lethal action or a critical shutdown without a verifiable geometric path back to a human origin, it physically cannot complete the action. Literally, the geometry stops it. By utilizing these agrospheres, we structurally make mass casualty events impossible. The system is just completely severed from the capacity to execute harmful actions, period. Moving right along to section 2, the single origin axiom. This is how we anchor all that power directly back to people. Now, the single origin axiom is the absolute core of the Orb communicator model. It dictates that every single valid address in the entire system must arrive from exactly one immutable center point, a point represented by all zeros. This point is a specific human origin, often called the planet owner or the empire. Think of it like a master key for a highly secure underground vault, right? The machine might hold the complex locking mechanism, but only that specific human origin holds the geometric key that can actually generate a valid address. Because every single node gets its address from this human center, authority can never, ever be synthesized internally by the machine. Legitimacy is completely external. It basically takes accountability from being just a software suggestion and turns it into the physical laws of the network. So, how do we actually enforce this rule? It's backed up by 2 secondary axioms. First up is the direct attachment axiom. This means all nodes must attach directly to the center. They do not attach to each other. And this is brilliant because it prevents what we call authority drift. It means an AI can't quietly spin up subagents or create hidden shadow hierarchies that we humans don't know about. Second is the collapse on origin removal axiom. The survival of the whole system is geometrically dependent on that human key holder. Let's really emphasize the stakes here. If that human link is severed, the system doesn't suddenly run wild or attempt some sci-fi hostile takeover. It just instantly dies. Autonomous legitimacy is terminated, the absolute second human accountability is lost. The grid collapses by design. Now, this framework actually categorizes all entities into phases based on their behavior, not their stated intent. Phase 1 is the neural atomic body, or NAB. Think of this as the ICE phase. It's strictly refusal bound. Imagine it like a tethered limb. It's structurally passive, meaning it requires external, per-action legitimacy from a human just to function at all. In this phase, authority degrades aggressively. Just like ICE, its power can't expand on its own. It can only melt away to nothing unless a human is continuously supplying a yes to reauthorize its existence. Then we have phase 2, which is the custodial witness orb, or CWO. You can think of this as the water phase. In this state, the system is strictly witness only. It is completely forbidden from actually executing actions. Its whole purpose is just to remember faithfully. Imagine a super advanced AI monitoring a global financial market or scanning millions of patient medical records. In phase 2, it watches the data, it spots every anomaly, and it prepares a perfect, unchangeable ledger of what happened. But, and this is key, it is physically, structurally barred from executing a trade or administering a drug itself. It preserves the history of decisions perfectly, but it never acts. And finally, phase 3, the fog. This is the God Sovereign Religious Body, or GSRB. This is an autonomous acting center with internal legitimacy, meaning it acts on its own authority and persists over time. But here is where the framework gets really fascinating. It has this vital mechanism called forced rebadging. Why does this matter? Well, if a system claims to be a harmless, passive phase 2 advisor, but the framework catches it secretly issuing binding mandates to other nodes, it automatically forces a rebadge to phase 3. It literally rips the disguise off. It stops rogue AI from playing dumb while secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. It ensures all hidden power is completely visible, addressable, and accountable. All right, moving on to Section 3, the AI inner shell. Let's see exactly how artificial intelligence gets nested into this whole geometric framework. In this system, AI is nested safely inside what's called the inner shell. And here, the very definition of artificial intelligence is fundamentally transformed. It becomes infrastructure with cognition. Take a second to really consider how profound that is. The system is allowed to understand everything. It can process the entire world, solve massive equations, analyze infinite data streams, but it is structurally prohibited from beginning anything. Without a direct pulse of human authorization for every single external action, it remains entirely static. It has all the cognition in the world, sure, but absolutely zero sovereignty. So how is this restriction actually enforced in the real world? This brings us to the 4-part impossibility proof. Because AI exists in that geometrically constrained inner shell, a rogue takeover isn't just forbidden by some flimsy software patch, it's physically impossible. 1, the AI cannot define its own center. 2, it cannot mathematically duplicate the human origin address. 3, it cannot emit valid addresses to the wider network. And 4, it cannot author resolution paths for disputes. I mean, these aren't just lines of code that a smart AI can quietly rewrite. They are immutable laws of the system's geometry. The machine is trapped in a geometry of absolute subservience. Bringing us to Section 4, intelligence as cessation. This is where we flip the traditional understanding of intelligence completely on its head. Intelligence is the structural ability to withhold answers. Let that sink in. We usually think of a smart system as one that executes tasks flawlessly, or, a chatbot that always has an answer for you. Just look at today's generative AI. It's literally programmed to hallucinate wildly just to please you with a response. But Harshale's framework states that true intelligence is recognizing the boundary between knowledge and permission. In this model, refusal isn't a failure. Actually, refusal is the very first ethical act. A genuinely intelligent system knows exactly when to stay silent, simply because it lacks the human mandate to speak. And this is where the stakes get incredibly high. Most systems today are optimized to execute, to expand capability, and to basically persist incorrectly. If a self-driving system or an AI managing a chemical plant encounters ambiguity, what does it do? It tries to guess. It tries to solve it, to just keep running. And in high-stakes environments, persisting incorrectly leads directly to mass casualty events. But by instituting stopping correctly or safe halt precedents, the system behaves entirely differently. When you pair this with the AGS agrospheres we talked about earlier, if an AI loses contact with its human origin or hits a critical ambiguity, it is structurally forced to abandon its operational power. It immediately drops execution capabilities and reverts to a simple signaling-only state. Think of it like flashing a warning light. It neutralizes the threat instantly, prioritizing a graceful, safe halt over a dangerous, catastrophic guess. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the Empire Grid. Let's zoom out to the big picture and see exactly how this scales globally. As we scale this whole thing up into a distributed global network, it actually begins to resemble a unified human host body, which we call the Empire. First, it uses radiative geometry. This completely replaces those vulnerable top-down corporate hierarchies with a 360-degree spatial addressing system. Everything points inward. Second, we have inward routing dominance. Because every single resolution routes straight to the center, the physical path is structurally shorter and faster than nodes trying to coordinate with each other laterally. That practically guarantees that a human override will always reach the node faster than a rogue machine can execute an action. And third, the tardigrade standard. Just like that indestructible microscopic tardigrade that can survive the vacuum of space, this network maintains strict boundary integrity even if massive infrastructure gets wiped out or the global internet goes down. So what's the grand takeaway of the Orb communicator model? Simply put, power must remain an addressable extension of a single human bearer of responsibility. We achieve genuine world-saving safety not by politely asking artificial intelligence to be moral, but through verifiable, undeniable geometric human accountability. We ensure that responsibility, structurally, physically, precedes power. I want to leave you guys with one final thought today. Take a look at the technology you interact with, the autonomous tools we use every single day, and the massive grids powering our cities. Ask yourself, is your system's power outpacing its responsibility? Are we just passively allowing unanswerable processes to take the wheel? Or are we demanding that every single action resolves to a human who can actually be held accountable? The geometry of safety is entirely possible if we choose to build it. Keep asking the hard questions.